Welcome, everybody. I will call to order the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, November 8th at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Supervisor McCormick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. We are having an issue with the live stream of the meeting at the moment, so this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. We did hold an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss personnel issues and receive information. We also had an executive session on October 22nd to discuss a personnel matter. Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes for the August 4th, August 12th, and August 19 meetings. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment or discussion on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a proclamation. Supervisor McCormick.
I'm going to deviate from the reading of the proclamation for just a moment. I want to say that in our country today, we oftentimes point out heroes. The baseball player hit the home run to win the game. The quarterback that threw the touchdown that won the game. All these heroes that we point out are not really heroes. They're just people who have a really interesting job. The heroes, the real heroes, are the ones that get up every morning and they go to work and they take care of their families and their friends and they serve their community. Such was a man that we have to celebrate today. Unfortunately, because of his recent passing, he's not here, but the sentiment is the same. From the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors, be it hereby proclaimed, whereas the Township of Lower Paxton honors residents whose lives reflect exceptional dedication and service to others, whereas Robert Lee Coburn began his volunteer fire service with Engine 8, Mount Pleasant in Harrisburg from 1965 to 1976. Serving as lieutenant from 1976 to 1988, Mr. Coburn continued his service with the Progress Fire Company, Station 32, where he attained the rank of Assistant Chief. Whereas, after moving to Lower Paxton Township in 1988, Mr. Coburn joined the Colonial Park Fire Company, serving as Deputy Chief and Assistant Chief from 1991 to 2016, coordinating vehicle maintenance, public education, and firefighter training with unmatched dedication. Whereas Mr. Coburn also taught in the Public Safety Division at Harrisburg Area Community College, sharing his experience and leadership with future firefighters. Mr. Coburn's legacy of service, mentorship, and commitment will long be remembered and deeply missed by our citizens. Now therefore, be it, and now it is hereby proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of Lower Paxton Township, Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, that we hereby honor and express our deep appreciation to Robert Lee Coburn for his lifetime of courageous service to his community. And may I just add to his family as well. when a man like Lee serves, you also serve. It's no secret that when the fire alarm goes off or the fire engines are running out of the building, quietly, family members serve as well. I'd like to present this proclamation to the family. Get a picture? Okay. We need to get another one? Family members, if you want to stand up, we'll put a picture on the website. Supervisors, want to come down here?
Thank you. It means so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Thanks again for the honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you all to our brave men and women who showed up today as well from our Fire Bureau. It means a lot to have you here to be present for that proclamation. So we thank you. Thank you for your service. Okay. We will now move on to public comment. We'll invite speakers to the podium. Please keep your remarks to 5 minutes and pertaining to township matters. If your item is on the agenda, we'll ask that you wait for the agenda item to be raised. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Kaleem Bhatti from 4486 Continental Drive. My topic is basically general information. I have been a resident of the township since 1981, approximately, almost exclusively. And my little boy here, he loves to play soccer. I have adopted pickleball at Brightville Park. And as a former tennis player, I used to look down on pickleball, thinking it's a very sissy sport. But now I love it. So I am now converted to pickleball. But I digress. The reason I'm really here today is to talk about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, where I serve as the public affairs officer. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a dynamic group of Muslims under Islam, under true Islam, and it is the fastest growing international revival movement in Islam, founded in 1889 by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, who we believe is the long-awaited Messiah, the second coming of Jesus. And the community is now led by our Caliph, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who resides in the United Kingdom. And his duties is quite similar to that of the Pope in the Catholic faith, where his office is lifetime. And it's important to note the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the only Muslim group in the world who's unified under one leader. So when he says sit, I sit. And if he says stand, we all stand. So it's that type of obedience that we have to our Khalifatul Masih. We believe as Muslims, all prophets of God, including Prophet Adam, Prophet Abraham, the Holy Prophet Jesus, Noah, Moses, and of course Muhammad, and peace be on all of those prophets. We reject the concept of violent jihad. Sharia law is nothing more than providing basic human rights, just like the US Constitution does. So it's nothing to be afraid of. And as a public affairs officer, I see the social media and I see the tone out there, and this is one of the reasons I'm here. So we say no to terrorism. We say no to all forms of violence in the name of religion or God. We promote jihad, that term that we see on the internet, jihad, jihad, jihad. We say no, jihad of the pen is what we are all about, which is dialogue and education. We believe in universal human rights. We believe in interfaith dialogue. The community champions universal human rights, equality, and just relation between countries. We believe in women's rights and education. We believe in the acceptance and respect all religious founders and faiths. And as a community in Harrisburg, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is an active and engaged part of the central Pennsylvania area. Our members, many of our members, such as the one just presented, are doctors who work in the healthcare facility. Dr. Mumtaz, who is a heart surgeon you might have heard at UPMC. We have law enforcement officers in the state capitol that I am aware of. We have small business owners. They're all contributing to this society. I myself am in cybersecurity. We worship at the Hadi Mosque located on Division Street, 245 Division Street, which serves nearly 600 people in the central Pennsylvania area. So the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is well known for its annual convention. If you recall, 2-3 years ago, the Jalsa Salana was held at the farm show, where 10,000 people would gather for what? For the worship of one God, to engage in dialogue, to learn about brotherhood. So beyond this large gathering, local members of our community, we engage in public service, including charitable work. We have an international organization called Humanity First. We provide disaster relief and aid to the needy. We partner with the likes of Downtown Daily Bread. We assist in cleaning neighborhoods. And after 9/11 took place, we conducted blood drives in memory of the blood lost during 9/11. We host prayers for peace and initiatives to stop World War III. So we're all about peace. And our interfaith dialogue events, we promote harmony and understanding among people of different backgrounds. So our motto is love for all and hatred for none. And with that, I can take any questions. Otherwise, I take leave. It is time for prayer. For the evening prayer, I need to go to the mosque.
Thank you, sir. You're exactly at 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Mr. Minster, please.
Good evening, members of the board, staff, and ladies and gentlemen in the audience. I'm Bill Minsker, 5956 Linglestown Road Rear in Linglestown. It is my pleasure and my honor to present to you an annual summary of what your three large service groups are doing in the township. You have in front of you a paper that gives you an outline of the basic items, some of which I'd like to highlight. With each of the three groups, Lions Club, Rotary Club, and Kiwanis, you'll see their membership, when they were founded, and where we meet, and that sort of thing. But the highlight items I wish to mention to you, just for the record, with the Lower Paxton Township Lions Club, our motto, as with all three groups, is service to the community. Lions Club's motto is "We Serve." And you will notice with the world projects that are there, Lions Clubs are working worldwide to find a cure for diabetes. Can you imagine? Once that is successful, this horrible disease of diabetes will be eliminated. Our service projects that we have completed throughout the year, we have done our annual cleanup projects at Coons, Lingle, George, Wrightville, and Cole Parks. We're working with the township on the placement of AED devices throughout the parks. And Mike, if you would show that list, annually the Lower Paxton Township Lions Club recognizes 3 firefighters from our 3 fire companies, from EMS for South Central Ambulance. And for our police department, you have that list at the back of your sheet. These people are the prime examples of service to our community. Linglestown Fire Company's service person was Tyler Stover. With Colonial Park was Adian Yankee. With Paxtonia was Braden Benedict. And for EMS was Michaela Brady. And just recently, we presented for Lower Paxton Township the Police Officer of the Year of Kevin Rowland. These are spectacular people who serve our community well and deserve that recognition. With the Rotary Club of Colonial Park, our motto is service above self. Our world project is the elimination of polio. Polio has been eliminated as a scourge disease throughout the world except for 2 countries in the world, Afghanistan and Pakistan. And again, can you imagine the impact on the world in the elimination of that horrible disease of polio? And that is almost complete. The projects that the Rotary Club of Colonial Park does for our community. We give out annual community grants this year. We gave out 9 of these at $10,250. We gave out 26 scholarships. This year, in year 26, we gave out 18 scholarships totaling $80,000. We worked with the Township Parks and Rec Board to create the Fall Festival again this year. And we're working also on that project of providing funding for AEDs in our parks with the Parks and Rec Board. All total, the Colonial Park Rotary Club in our community has donated over $1,100,000 to our community, and we continue to work to do that. With the Kiwanis Club of the Linglestown area, our motto is with service to children, our children priority 1. And in doing this, the service projects that worldwide to eliminate, the first of these has been done, which was to eliminate a disease which we know nothing about called IED, IDD, called iodine deficiency disorder, which is in underdeveloped countries with people who do not have iodine in their diet. When a female becomes pregnant and gives birth to a child without iodine, the brain does not develop and that child is handicapped throughout their life. That project was completed by simply iodizing salt, as we have in developed countries in the world, and that project eliminated that disease. Kiwanis is currently working to eliminate maternal neonatal tetanus. Again, we don't have that here in America because we get tetanus shots. Underdeveloped countries are working to eliminate that by through Kiwanis in giving inoculations for tetanus, and hopefully we'll eliminate that. Our service projects, we have been working with 12 families through the Families United organization. We have created, you are aware of the dog holding area over at the Highway Department. That was a project we started a number of years ago and completed. We have 2 key clubs at Central Dauphin CD East High Schools. We have placed throughout our community 10 mini libraries. You see a list of them there. And on December 1st, for you, we'll be putting the annual Christmas tree out here in the lobby. So that's our project for the summation of our projects for the year, just for your benefit, so you see what is being done. And I thank the 3 of you that are parts of these clubs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Minsker, for that report.
Good evening. My name is Kate Scheib, and I live at 131 Oak Park Road. And it's November, so I would like to just express 4 things that I am grateful for tonight. Number 1, I would like to commend the 18,000 voters that came out in Lower Paxton Township for an off-season municipal election. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter why you came out. 40% turnout is something to be very grateful for and something that's going to keep our democracy thriving. So I just wanted to commend all the voters that did turn out 2 weeks ago. Second, I'd like to say thank you to both Alan McCormick and John Jeem for reaching out to me post-election to to offer some very, very kind words. I found it very thoughtful and very touching, and helps me, fortunately, to move a little forward in the position where I will find myself shortly. Which brings me to gratitude number 3, and that would be to the 4 interim sitting supervisors for actually staying in the seat and doing what you need to do, because as a former elected official, I know that it's not easy. I know that it is not a cakewalk, and I wanted to share, I was on the phone with Supervisor Navarro not too long before he resigned, and he said to me, I honestly don't know why some people do this. And I would have to probably say to each of you, probably haven't thought in your mind at least once, I don't know exactly why I do this. So thank you very much for filling out your terms. I appreciate that as well. And the 4th one, I hope this comes out okay. Local elections are very different to me than regional, state, or national elections, in that most of us that run, or most of us that show up here, we're going to intermingle and we're going to see one another again, and chances are we're going to serve on similar boards. We're going to be on the same side of the fence. And one things that I'm grateful for is during the election, I had the opportunity to listen and to watch, and why I didn't necessarily always agree, obviously, with the decisions that were made or some of the things that were done. I am very grateful that we have and had 4 skilled interim supervisors that, should I ever find myself on the same board as they are, or the same fundraiser, or even in the same Zumba class, I can be pretty well assured that we're on the same side. So I did want to thank you for that. It is a local election, and I think that we all just are trying to do the best we can for Lower Paxton Township. So with that, I hope you all have good holidays, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Scheib. I appreciate your comments. And Ms. Scheib, I did send you a message. I will re-forward it to you. But you're absolutely right that people have spoken. We've all accepted that. And all of us up here will continue to do whatever we can for this township and help with the transition with the next board.
Hello,
Please.
Jay Purdy, 4731 Duke Street. And I wanted to say something. I probably won't be as articulate as the previous speaker, but I just wanted to express, I've stood up here and proclaimed and questioned at times, but I wanted to express my appreciation to the 4 board members who were appointed to the board, and let you know that I respect you, and I would have any of you as a neighbor with pride. I don't know if you'd want to have me as a neighbor, but it does when you run for office and you serve like this. You're taking a step beyond normal community service. You're opening your heart and soul up a little bit extra, because sometimes, the arrows come in. And I commend you on taking that step, and I hope that you will all continue your commitment to the community with no hesitation. And lastly, I want to relate something that comes from about 40 years ago in my reporting past in Western Pennsylvania. I recall a school board one time where the board was sitting up just like you are, and there was somebody where I am, and she was giving the board what say, just like, oh, here we come, we're going to go after you. And to the year, almost to the date, that person that was at the podium was sitting in the chairman's post. And there was somebody else at the podium really tearing her apart. And she had this look of like, I signed up for this. What did I get myself into? But the township is better that you did it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Bostic.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Bostic, 6204 Elmer Avenue over in Linglestown. I'm actually going to provide information I got from one of my followers and readers, passed along, that I thought it'd be worthwhile for the township to hear. This is in regard to Hodges Heights and the upcoming renovation project for the park. And before I get into details, I sort of add on to the accolades. I do want to thank the board for taking Hodges Heights under your working with Hodges Heights, with not only the park, but also the what is it called, the land, it's former landfill, but now what help me out? Was it? Compost facility, yes. Both are still in works in progress, but you need to be acknowledged for taking on those projects. And I as one, learning more about Hodges Heights, appreciate it. What the tip was, or the idea, I know there's been some talk of putting a berm somewhere on that property. I guess it might be along the fence or the front end of the compost facility that the home is back into. If that's the case, this gentleman thought if there's a defunct nursery on Colonial Club Drive, Shades Nursery. If you drive by there, I think there's still a sign there, but they have quite a few arborvitaes that are large in size. So his idea was if a berm goes in, to plant those on top of the berm that might make a nice barrier to block dust and other dirt and different things like that, maybe a little bit of a sound barrier. So I just wanted to get that on the record as something that may be considered. I know you've done studies. I have no idea what's there, but I just wanted to throw that in the mix. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bostic. Is there any other public comment? Please, Mr. Miller.
William Miller, 4311 Crestview. I wanted to just, as we move into the second Saturday in December, it's our last date for the yard waste compost facility. Kudos to Matt also for tearing up these leaves. But we're going to come to a point when again, I've mentioned before, I called all your municipalities in the area. We're about the only one that doesn't have any type of winter-type composting. So, January, probably not the best month. Get into late February and March, and I did speak with our waste provider, and they were interested in doing something in March to take off the phenomenal burden the first week in April. But I just feel in some of the other municipalities, they have a camera, they see your smiling face, they see your tag, your sticker. You probably know what I'm talking. I see you nodding, because your town, you're one of. I don't know if you had one, but you're familiar.
I work with municipalities that have.
Yeah, I thought South Hanover has that. Right, and they're pretty brutal on violators. You're not going to put anything in there. I just think we have to keep this thought in our minds. We have to move forward to provide more of a year-round service. Is it warmer? Maybe. At times, but people still generate yard waste, and you don't want that accumulating in big piles here and there. And we've had these winds, we've had these storms. I just think it's something to look at, and as we work on the compost facility, to include those we mentioned some electronic gates and things, timers to let the bigger trucks in so they can't come rolling in there at 6:30 in the morning. And so now you have an engineered decision, you have a controlled environment, and we can do it with the technology we have and the leadership we have, in our facilities department. The other thing I wanted to mention briefly is I received a note, one of your well-known constituents. The question is, can you ask what more is PennDOT going to do to complete for minimizing tractor-trailer traffic on 39? Is PennDOT going to erect some more permanent signs? The big boy signs, the ones that I believe historically were asked for before, and then they didn't approve them.
So the signs that are going to be put up, actually, I don't know if you have the email. But yes, there is going to be permanent signs installed. These message boards are temporary till the signs are fabricated.
And I believe there were there was sizing involved in the original plan that PennDOT didn't really care for, and sometimes I think they need to be.
I think they're a little bit bigger. They're pictorial as well, makes it easier, and for somebody to see a picture than to sit and read literature. But yes, there is going to be permanent signing. I think what people might not understand too is there's a system that PennDOT uses when they issue permits kind of to track them. And now it's called APRIS, and that what APRIS does is, let's say there's a restriction on 81, okay? They need to get that load from south, from, let's say, Mechanicsburg up to Hazelton. So sometimes it actually reroutes that truck through Lingelstown because, some of these trucks were actually permitted. Okay, so what they did now is that in APRIS they installed, or they put more of a permanent restriction. So for these loads will not go through, and for the stragglers that come through, the signs will be there.
All right. Is there anything, the discussion had been about reducing the diameter of the flagpole?
No, that's not going to
roundabout.
happen.
It's not going to happen. You would
No.
think, it's a state road. I mean, I think there's some other people would argue the point and take
So
take
I mean,
tabs on it.
since I don't know when we implemented the permanent restriction and put up the temporary message boards, but I haven't seen. I don't travel that road often, but Mr. Bostic, I don't know if you've seen any activity, Mr. Minsker, of oversized loads going through so.
No, I haven't either. I saw a big knuckle boom trying to squeeze through there today. I mean, that truck was questionable in length, but they don't have numbers printed on. They don't have their length printed on them. So
it works. I mean, are you going to get one that's just not going to be paying attention? Probably.
Absolutely.
Right? But for the most part, I think.
And those who follow their GPS, and unfortunately those who aren't really comprehending what they're reading. I hate to say that.
Sure.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's why so many are stuck down there on Market Street in front of the hospital all the time.
There you go.
They don't see it. They don't know it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, aside from that, I don't want to say it's 100% fixed, but I'd say it's solid 99.
Okay. Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there any other public comment? Okay, we have a lengthy agenda, so we will move on to chair and board members' comment. Any chair and supervisor comments at this time?
I would like to reserve my supervisor comments until the end.
Okay. Manager's report. No report. Okay, we will move on to the planning and zoning presentations. Director Zerbe, please.
Good evening. When a development is proposed within the neighborhood design district, the applicant is required to provide a master plan which may be submitted as part of or prior to a preliminary plan submission. The master plan is not required to include the same level of engineering detail as a preliminary subdivision plan. Stormwater calculations, construction details, erosion and sedimentation control plans, profiles, and similar engineering details are not required at the master plan stage. The master plan shall include sufficient information to accurately show existing conditions and the proposed layout of the types of housing, lots, open space, pedestrian pathways, major detention basins, and streets and alleys. Additionally, the master plan shall contain an existing features map that accurately shows the environmental features of the tract, such as wetlands, 100-year floodplains, woodlands, and steep slopes. The existing features map is reviewed by the Township Zoning Officer and Township Engineer and then determined by the Planning Commission as to whether it represents a reasonably accurate estimate of the number of dwelling units possible on the site for purposes of establishing the buildable area of the development. The Weinrich Street development tract has a total area of 268.17 acres situated across 5 parcels. The total allowable density in the neighborhood design district is 5 units per gross buildable acre, with the buildable acreage for the site determined to be 232.79 acres based upon the review of the existing features map. The Weinrich Street Development Master Plan proposes 770 total dwelling units over 4 phases, which will include 432 single-family detached dwelling units, 152 duplex dwelling units, and 186 townhouse dwelling units that are either front, side, or rear-loaded garages. The Neighborhood Design District establishes ratios of housing type and density based upon the extent of proposed common open space. The total open space proposed is 90.18 acres, which is 39% of the NDD area. More than 15 acres of the proposed open space is dedicated to community greens with an additional 13,106 linear feet of walking path. Additionally, during the planning stages for the preliminary plan, if it is found that the proposed densities will change from the approved master plan, the master plan must be amended to reflect those changes. The master plan was recommended for approval at the November 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, and this plan has one modification requested. The modification is the applicant is proposing a modification of the neighborhood design guidelines, which prohibits the use of cul-de-sacs within the neighborhood design district. The applicant is proposing 2 cul-de-sacs within the NDD. The applicant's justification of the 2 cul-de-sacs is due to terrain and sensitive environmental feature constraints. A total of 19 units are located on the cul-de-sacs. Additionally, consistent with the development objectives, the cul-de-sacs are connected to adjacent portions of the NDD via walking trails. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of the modification at the November 5th meeting. All technical comments for this master plan have been addressed. And there are several representatives of the plan here this evening. I think Mr. Courtney is going to the podium first to address the board.
Good evening, Charlie Courtney with McNeese. With me tonight are Richard Yinks and John Zervanos, also Justin Kuhn and Elliot Shibley. They are with Integrated Consulting. They're the project engineer. So before the board is an overall master plan. And if you recall, it's probably been a few to several years ago, the township adopted a zoning amendment to create this neighborhood design district. And the model was a neighborhood in Lancaster called Veranda. So if you've ever seen it, it's quaint. Homes are generally oriented around community greens. Homes are kind of pushed up to the street. A lot of emphasis on streetscape, a lot of emphasis on open space and trails. And so the thought was, given that Lower Paxton Township is a municipality that's in the path of growth, and as a municipality in the path of growth, Lower Paxton has to accommodate more housing than a rural municipality in the middle of Perry County, right? That's what the law says. And so the thought was, well, if the housing that we provide, let's provide a different type, a different character of housing, something that creates better neighborhoods for the township. So that was the emphasis of this NDD ordinance. That was then incorporated into the new zoning ordinance that was adopted by the township. So the plan that you have before you, it is simply an overall master plan. It's not a land development plan, and its approval does not authorize any development work. It is the start of a lengthy 18-month to 2-year process. After master plan approval, the traditional land development process would commence. A preliminary plan would be prepared and submitted to the township, reviewed, ultimately recommended by the PC, and an action taken by the supervisors, and then a final plan. So we're way at the beginning. Think of this overall master plan as essentially a glorified sketch plan, because that's really all it is. And even after that 18-month to 2-year process for entitlements, again, this neighborhood is not a neighborhood that gets built overnight. It's a neighborhood that gets phased in over a period of 10, 15 or more years. As Amanda indicated, the plan's clean. We've gone through multiple revisions. There are no outstanding comments in terms of compliance with ordinances. The only item being a modification, which Elliot will talk about in a moment. And again, as Amanda indicated, the plan was recommended by the PC. So what we thought we'd do tonight is I'll turn it over to Elliot. He'll walk you through the overall master plan, talk about the waiver for 2 areas of a cul-de-sac, and then we'll happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Amanda, thank you for the summary. My name is Elliot Shibley. I'm with Integrated Consulting. Again, we are the project engineer for this, and we've been working with the developers for some time now. We've gone through several iterations with the township, going back and forth to make sure this master plan is consistent with the Neighborhood Design District ordinance that was drafted a few years ago, consistent with the overall vision for this master plan and the neighborhoods surrounding it. So in adding to what Amanda and Charlie had already stated, I'll give a brief rundown of the overall development, how we came to the decisions we did, and what it looks like long term. So overall, this site has significant slopes. We have limitations such as streams, wetlands, floodplains, and steep slopes. So all of those items get factored into that buildable area analysis. And the open space that is shown, Mike, if you're able to flip to that diagram again, that shows all the green. I believe it's sheet 4. Up one. One more. That one. So all of that green on there is dedicated open space. The darker green areas with the black outlines would be stormwater. And then you'll see lighter green areas within the actual home boundaries. So those are what we are calling the community greens. Each of those community greens is roughly the size of a football field, sidewalks, trees, and bounded by streets. And most of those will have homes fronting on it instead of driveways. So all the other homes that are fronting on it will have rear load or side load access to make a nice streetscape. All of the other open space areas won't have any other development besides trail networks. Those trail networks, as Amanda indicated, are nearly 2.5 miles. Those will be paved 6 foot wide bituminous asphalt trails. And those will connect not just through the community, but to Lingelstown Road, Blue Ridge, and Wenrick, and provide access to other parks throughout Lower Paxton Township. Access to the site is through Wenrick Street primarily, and then there's an access on Lingelstown Road, and then future, once we get into the transitional development, there will be an access on Blue Ridge. The number of access points on Wenrick are 2 primary access points and then 3 tertiary. 2 of those are on a loop street that only serves 15 units. So again, only 2 primary access points on Wenrick. As far as the layout and the unit types, this neighborhood design district is only residential development. There are no commercial aspects to it like some other traditional neighborhood designs. So no commercial center. This will have a community center that has a clubhouse, maybe a pool, and some other amenities. But the home types on this are single-family detached dwellings, which we'll consider the traditional dwelling type, single-family semi-detached, which are duplexes, and single-family attached, which are townhouses. And there is a required mixture under the ordinance of how many of those different types you can have, whether it's a front load garage, meaning directly accessed from the street, whether it's a side load, meaning you don't see the garage, but it's still accessed from the street, or a rear load, which is accessed from an alley and you don't see the garage at all from the street. And the priority is the rear load garage, then the side load, and then the front load. So all of that is very prescriptive through the ordinance, and we are currently meeting all of that, along with the required ratios for the unit types. And then the last piece of this is the neighborhood development transitional. So as you can see on that plan, most of the neighborhood design is all along the eastern portion, or the western portion of the site, eastern side of Wenrick. Everything grayed out to the east is part of that transitional development. As required under the master plan, we have to show what the transitional development could look like. It's currently zoned R1, but under the NDD section, there's ability to do a transitional design. So with that, I will open it up to any questions, and Charlie and I can help answer those.
Just one clarification with respect to the, with respect to the non-colored portion of that plan, the genesis behind that was, in the ordinance was, you spend all of this time on a very particular design and feel of a neighborhood, than to have something that is totally divorced from that. So the ordinance that you have has what's called a neighborhood design transitional area. But that area that's not colored, the reason why it's not colored, it's there simply for informational purposes, but it's not really part of the master plan. The master plan, this master plan relates to the color portion of the site. It is strictly an NDD process. The rest of it is just for context for future plans. That's all.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the supervisors? Any questions?
So, yes, just simple. You said 2 main entrance/exit, and that's on Winrick, and there's a future one on Blue Ridge.
Yes, and there's an access point on Linglestown,
On Linglestown,
Yep.
not Piketown.
not Piketown.
And then is the one on Linglestown in this phase?
Yes.
Okay.
The only one in future phase would be Blue Ridge.
Okay.
I have a question. Have you met with any officials from the school district regarding the proposed development?
Yeah, I understand that Mark DeSanto had met with representatives of the school district. We've had a couple planning commissions where they expressed concern. Our response to that, the project that you see here on the master plan side, I mean, the ordinance allows 5 units per buildable acre. This project isn't yielding 5 units. It's a little bit over 3. So in terms of what could be authorized under the zoning ordinance, this is less dense. The other thing is, look, we obviously can't solve, we understand school burdens with housing developments, and obviously this project can't fix that, but I think part of the challenge is that, the comprehensive plan that was adopted years ago projects housing and anticipated housing. And so from some of the figures in the township's comprehensive plan in terms of what should be expected over a period of time, it was the 2018 comprehensive plan. It was more than 3,300 new dwelling units before 2040, and more than 1,000 dwelling units before 2030. So this project isn't going to be built overnight. Like I said, it's going to be phased in over 10, 15 or plus years. I've worked on projects of this size, and most of those have gone above 15 years in terms of phasing in the construction and the occupancy.
Thank you. And can I ask, will they continue to meet with the school district and their officials to consider the educational impact as you move forward through that preliminary plan phase?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other supervisor questions? Okay, before we take a motion and a second on this and act, I would ask if there's any public comment at this time on this agenda item. Yes, please. Can you use the microphone, please, for Shelley's sake? Thank you.
Kate Scheib, I haven't moved, 131 Oak Park Road. This question may be premature, but I'm curious, in today's dollars, do you have a range of the selling price of these units that you plan on building?
I can provide that. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But we can.
I'm assuming based on the design, we're not really talking affordable housing? We're talking probably more of an upscale, kind of higher range for Lower Paxton Township?
I think that's what the ordinance
Just asking. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Miller, please.
William Miller, 4311 Crestview. The question I have, people know I'm a huge advocate that this township become a highly ambulatory township. We've got a lot of choke points, a lot of accident areas for walkers, no walkers, some rough sidewalks. But in this area, I still on this line, I mean, this project's going to happen. I mean, and developers develop. This is what we do. They're excellent developers. This is well thought out. Except I'm just not seeing anything along Wenrick. The traffic burden to me is of paramount importance. And you have the two cul-de-sacs, you have two major ones. Just where's your bike path? I did make note, I read some other articles today. There are some other developments. The bike path is there, a substantial sidewalk is there. And I just don't see how that's not going to impact more than a couple of units there. But it's a hilly road, it's a sightline nightmare. I just feel, again, I know that's part of the process down the road. Iron those out with PennDOT, the traffic study. But I kind of like the slam dunk thing. You come in prepared with that initially to try to get that, and then you'd be building. It's just that, with that number of units, you're talking, 3,000 cars in that area, parking, they have to get in and out. You've got all your little trucks coming in with all the stuff we buy, deliveries. I would think it's going to be a lot of congestion. You got a terrible sight line. I don't know what the PennDOT study said and the Capital Region study said with Wenrick and Linglestown right there by Running Pump Farm. There are sight lines. It's a logistical problem. And they haven't mentioned the school buses and things like that, when I think some of that could have been incorporated to get people to walk, but they'll probably get a ride anyway. Everybody has a car. I just think that Wenrick Street is huge, and I don't think it should be incumbent upon the taxpayer for that particular financial burden. There's creative financing, there are grants, there are things, there are that, and that can be done. But that's the biggest focus I see here, is to get that street kind of realigned and open. Again, you go up to Elmer Street and you'll see in the curb, just like the silo mark on Blue Eagle that nobody knows but me, you can see the curbs were put in years ago, like a Devon Manor Pool. All this structure used to have to be included. And we're getting into waivers and not deferrals. And that was put in, but if nothing is done, you're going to have that old curb buried 10 feet off the road and the sidewalk ending with nothing to hook to it. And I think, for the safety of all of your constituents, this should be of paramount importance. Not to burden the developer and charge them $1 billion to do it, but it needs to be thought out. It needs to be wide enough. We want people using the bikes. We don't want the electric bikes. All these things can be included. And with what I've seen, it would be beautiful. But you're going to have to scoot it over a little bit, and I think it's going to cost some real estate. And I mean, and the bottom line is the money. So I'm playing both sides. I'm pretty neutral on this. It's going to happen, but how does it evolve in a collaborative, collegial type manner, so that everybody is satisfied and the people are safe? It's going to be a congested area. Then you have the impact going back down to the worst intersection at the Turkey Hill. That's a rough intersection, and you got Piketown Road, and you got the wonderful, Tractor Supply intersection at PennDOT up there. So a lot of things to iron out. It's just how do we get this traffic to move smoothly when we have a whole lot of problems on some other roads that have not been ironed out in 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you very much.
Yep, I do believe we can address some of those items in a development agreement, and I encourage the next board to consider that as we move forward.
Keeping in mind the $300 million, Eric Terman was here with a $300 million price tag. Is that really realistic? I mean, how do we truly evaluate that? You throw the big numbers out, then you whittle them down. So you have to think about that too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Ms. Lindsay?
Robin Lindsay, 6244 Overview Lane. I just had a question. The fire with the cul-de-sacs, have everything been cleared with the deputy fire chief?
I don't know that we've addressed that issue.
Because usually
With the deputy fire chief.
that goes along with the plan, that it goes before the fire and the police.
At the preliminary stage or at the master plan stage, Mr. Courtney?
Oh, if
do you
they're
wanna
asking
address
for a
that?
waiver?
Yeah, so the waiver is to allow a cul-de-sac, not as to the design of the cul-de-sac, right? So in a land development plan, you're seeing everything, right? This isn't a land development plan. So this would allow the cul-de-sacs, but of course, they would have to be designed in a way that accommodates fire access. So the cul-de-sacs are going to have to be large enough to accommodate, truck turnarounds.
And then my other question is it going to be an HOA that takes care of the roads, or will those roads and the cul-de-sac be turned over to the township?
That's to be discussed as part of the land development process. Every plan would have an offer of dedication of streets, but it's up to the municipality to decide what streets they want or don't want.
Well, there are some other developments where the developer decided on what streets the township would take care of and what streets the HOA would take care of.
So we can designate streets that we are not going to offer for dedication.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do that, and there probably will be some streets. But the question of whether a municipality has to accept dedication of a street is solely with the municipality.
Right.
So we can determine as part of land development, we can have an offer where the township can say, look, don't even offer dedication of these streets because we're not going to take them. But that'll be part of the process. But typically, any plan, there's an implied offer of dedication, but it's up to the township to decide whether it wants to accept dedication.
I was just more concerned on the cul-de-sacs because, they are a bugger to clean when, the snow, with the snow. So I was just concerned on the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, we anticipate that by the time we get through land development, there's going to be tweaks and changes. Even Wenrich Street, Mr. Miller's comments are good. We expect that Wenrich Street is going to have to be rebuilt, at least parts of it, right? We expect that it's going to be widened. We expect that there's going to be pedestrian requirements along Wenrich Street. All of those things we anticipate, and that will probably come at a cost of units along Wenrich Street. We understand that.
Okay.
This is,
I was just more concerned with the cul-de-sac because of the waiver.
Yeah.
Because the NDD doesn't allow the cul-de-sac. So with the waiver, I was just a little bit more concerned on that.
Yeah, and the waiver would just be to allow a cul-de-sac. The actual design would be subject to the land development approval process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Mr. McCormick, do you have anything? Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the Wenrich Street Master Plan.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do you want to make that with the modifications request?
As presented with the modification. So we have a first from Mr. McCormick and a second from
I second it.
Supervisor Jean. Okay, is there any other discussion or public comment at this time?
Would you poll? Would you do a poll?
You mean a roll call vote?
A roll call, yes.
Okay, Supervisor Thompson has asked for a roll call vote.
Mr. Najim?
Aye.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Ms. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Vecchio?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Nay, with comments. I am not in favor of the neighborhood design district. It is my belief that the proposed densities are not appropriate for this area of the township, but if it is the will of the zoning ordinance to permit this type of development, then I will not look favorably on any request to provide additional relief. Therefore, I do not approve the modification to allow for the construction of cul-de-sacs. When I have been out in the Stray Winds community, talking to constituents, one of the things that they have shared with me is that the roads around the cul-de-sac are so narrow, for instance, that the school buses can't negotiate those roads without, it's almost the roundabout situation that we have in Linglestown, without climbing up on that, I forget what it's called, maybe an apron, climbing up on the apron of the roundabout. So my vote is nay.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Thank you all.
The motion passes. Thank you for your time. We appreciate that. All right, we will move on to action item 8B, which is the waiver request of land development for Grace Stevenson, 4969 Berkeley Street. Director Zerby?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement to formally submit a land development plan for the proposed building expansion at 4969 Berkeley Street. The current building footprint is 1,512 square feet. The owner is proposing an addition of 1,053 square feet to the existing building. The building at 4969 Berkeley Street is located in the R2 Medium Density Zoning District and was previously utilized as a daycare and is a pre-existing non-conforming use which the owner intends to continue. The daycare is bordered by E.H. Phillips Elementary School to the rear, which is located in the IN Institutional Zoning District. Due to the simple nature of the proposed improvements, the earth disturbance being de minimis at 1,500 square feet and the proposed impervious cover being less than 1,000 square feet, a waiver is being requested. The applicant received a variance of the requirement that the expansion not exceed 50% of the total square footage of the use at the October 23rd, 2025 zoning hearing board. Staff supports the waiver request as the proposed earth disturbance does not exceed 1,500 square feet, and the understanding that the applicant will still need to submit a building permit and zoning permit for review and approval. The waiver of the land development was recommended for approval at the November 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. And I believe Ms. Stevenson is here to address the board.
Please, Ms. Stevenson.
Hello.
Hello.
I guess Amanda explained everything. If anyone has any question.
Okay. Are there any questions for Director Zerby or Ms. Stevenson at this time?
Yep.
Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the waiver request of land development for Grace Stevenson?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any public discussion or comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The waiver has been granted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to item 8C, which is an additional waiver request for the conditionally approved preliminary final subdivision plan for Cider Press Station. Director Zerby.
Yes, the preliminary final subdivision plan for Cider Press Station was conditionally approved at the September 17, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting. The applicant is requesting an additional waiver of the plan for a waiver of the requirement that the street right-of-way areas, which are not part of the paved cartway, be graded to have a slope of 2% from the top of the curb upward to a point 2 feet beyond the right-of-way line. Staff supports the waiver request as the slopes have been stabilized and the proposed grading allows for proper sidewalk installation. Fencing is provided to separate pedestrians from the stabilized riprap slope. The waiver request has been recommended for approval at the November 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, and there is a representative here for Cider Press Station.
Thank you, sir. Please.
Good evening. Tim Malott Engineering, here to represent the waiver before you this evening. Also with me is John Fox with the owners of the property, Cider Press Land Company. This is in regards to a portion of the roadway that's not owned by us. So ultimately, we were providing grading, stabilization, and a recent request by HRG for us to possibly add a pedestrian fence, which we've incorporated into the plan. So ultimately, it's a situation where we don't control the land that would be needed to actually grade past the right-of-way. So I'm happy to get into any level of detail you're looking for, but it's really that simple. It's not our property.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the additional waiver request for the conditionally approved preliminary final subdivision plan for Cider Press?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any public comment or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8D, which is the waiver request of land development for 21 Thornwood Road, Lakeside Marine. Director Zerby.
The applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement to formally submit a land development plan for the proposed accessory storage building located at 21 Thornwood Road. The purpose of the plan is to construct a 3,800 square foot accessory use storage building behind the existing office. The accessory structure will be utilized for the storage of boats associated with the business. The site is located in the CG, Commercial General Zoning District. The pole building will be 50 feet by 76 feet and will be installed over existing impervious surface. No new impervious coverage will be created and no utilities are proposed with the construction. A lot consolidation was recently recorded to allow for the consolidation of parcels 354347 and 354323. Staff is in support of the waiver request as the proposed improvements appear to have minimal to no impact on neighboring properties. The applicant will be required to satisfy zoning and building permit requirements. The waiver of land development was recommended for approval at the November 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. And there are representatives from Lakeside Marine here.
Thank you.
Ryan Dobb, Lakeside Marine. It's all been summarized very well. Do you have any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Dobb? No questions? Thank you for the wonderful summary, Director Zerby. All right, may I have a motion to approve the waiver request of land development for 21 Thornwood Road, Lakeside Marine?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, and finally, moving on to item 8E is the improvement guarantees. Supervisor Thompson, will you handle that today? Okay.
So we have 6 improvement guarantees. Are you going to be?
Unfortunately, I'm not connected.
Oh, okay.
Running
All
the
right.
phone.
So, okay, I'll just review them. The following improvement guarantees are being presented for approval. 6028 Camden Court. It's at the establishment phase for a swimming pool. 6020 Parkway East is at the establishment phase for a swimming pool to be added to the property. Meadows parking lot, I guess that's where we like to get our soft serve ice cream, is asking for an extension on the parking lot improvement because they couldn't get all the items done and would like another year for this project to be completed. Aldi's at Blue Ridge Village received a reduction. The project is almost complete. We were actually at the grand opening, so there are just a few items that are still outstanding that need to be taken care of. For example, they're waiting for the topsoil to grow and inlet items and some concrete items to be completed. The Estates of Autumn Oaks Phase 2, they need an extension because there are 3 lots that still need to be paved and a little bit more work to be done on that. Shadebrook, the last one is Shadebrook Phase 4. They're asking for an extension also. They're almost done, but there are a few items, I guess, like punch list items that need to be completed. So I am asking for a motion to approve the improvement guarantees. I need a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any public comment or discussion on the improvement guarantees? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to old business, which is action item number 9A, and that is an action to retroactively approve the 11/3/25 payment of bills for the Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority. Supervisor Thompson?
In preparation for the November 3rd board meeting, I had reviewed the 3 check registers, so I was ready to ask for a motion to pay the bills. I will do that retroactively.
Okay, so
Just to set your mind at ease, in circumstances like this, when we don't meet and the bills do get paid, we don't have a reputation for being a late payer. Is that correct, Mr. Long? Yes, it is. Thank you. So I need a motion to retroactively pay the bills for November 3rd, 2025.
Supervisor Thompson, did you make that motion? You need a second?
I need a second, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor James, any public comment or discussion on these bills? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 9B is the termination of an easement agreement with Conway Associates LLC for the Kendale Oaks development. Mr. Hall.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This was a previously developed property in which there was a drainage easement provided to the township as part of the final subdivision plan. That drainage easement was determined to be no longer necessary, so the property owners are asking for relief in the form of a termination of that drainage easement agreement.
Okay. Are there any questions of the board for Mr. Hall? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the termination of the easement agreement for Conway Associates LLC for Kendall Oaks development?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Supervisor Jean? Any public comment or discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the termination, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to new business. Item 10A, which is an action to approve an employee separation agreement and release agreement. Mr. Hall?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair. You have a opportunity to approve an employee separation release agreement involving a resignation of a township employee.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I will ask for a motion to approve the employee separation and release agreement.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public discussion, comment?
My name is Joe Lindsay, 6244 Overview Lane. Why are we doing this? You all ran on being fiscally responsible. This is the third person.
Mr. Lindsay?
Excuse me. I'm a taxpayer, and my money is going to pay this. And I think this is ridiculous. This is the second person.
There's no payment under this release. This employee is resigning, and we're accepting his resignation.
Well, why is it done in a public setting then?
We have to take official action to accept the resignation.
Shouldn't this be done in an executive session?
We did discuss it in executive session, but official action needs to be taken. Mr. Hall, is there anything that you would like to add?
The requirement for the agreement is a result of a resolution between the employee and the township following an appeal of disciplinary action.
Okay, well then I apologize because I thought this was a buyout, but then I thought that if you had a personnel action, that should be addressed in an executive session, so I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Okay, any other questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the action to approve the employee separation release agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the moment I think everybody's been waiting for, item 10B, which is the presentation of the proposed 2026 municipal budget.
Good evening. My name's Grove. I've been a municipal finance director in various places since 1980. Well, I mean, that is at least until last summer when I retired. Recently in the township, you had a significant drain of institutional knowledge. Your manager, assistant manager, finance director, and assistant finance director all left. So in August of this year, I came out of retirement. In August, the most pressing need in the financial area is for the budget. So with a lot of very useful help from the remaining staff, we brought the budget to this point. So I'm here tonight to tell you about the budget. I'll tell you about what I found, and I'll tell you a little bit about what the future might hold. To prepare a budget well, you do need that institutional knowledge that you lost, and there's a lot of facets to that. But I'll share with you one of them that's probably one of the more important ones, and that is financial condition. It is assessed by going through a whole list of measurements, things like, are your reserves adequate, revenue, is that growing, pension funds, are they adequately funded? And I knew I wouldn't find a township in dire financial straits, but sometimes you find those little innocuous flaws, kind of like a classic Greek tragedy, that if you don't address them now, they're going to become bigger problems down the road. And I'm very happy to announce, as you'll probably be happy to hear, that the township is actually in very good financial shape. A matter of fact, in September, as the authority was preparing to issue bonds, Moody's reconfirmed our AA2 bond rating, which is a good rating. And they concluded in their written statement that the township has a well-managed financial position with strong reserves and liquidity. So let's move on to the budget. And this is the expenditure side of the 2026 budget. Typically, I might have a second pie chart up here showing you the relative size of the 25 budget. However, the difference between the two is extremely small, about 1.5%. So you'd be hard pressed to even see a difference. And as that kind of suggests, there really isn't a whole lot of changes in service levels between the two budgets. Now, this pie chart's broken down by fund, and there's two basic approaches to budgeting based upon the type of fund it is. You have operating funds and you have capital funds. The operating funds provide those services that you are typically associate with the municipality, police, trash collections, roads, parks. It needs a reliable revenue source, and if it appears in the budget, you can count on that service being delivered in the budget year. Now, capital is a little bit different. These are big ticket items. These are capital outlays or infrastructure improvements, and they are budgeted by project. And a lot of those projects are contingent upon outside funding, things like grants and donations. So if that funding comes in and there's enough money there to throw in for the township's part of the project moves forward. Your largest operating fund, making up over half the budget, is your general fund. Your second largest fund that you see in orange there, that's your general improvement fund. That's your capital fund. And I'll talk about those two funds in more detail here in a minute. But for the moment, I want to concentrate on the three smaller operating funds. Your sanitation fund, just as the name implies, that provides trash collection, recycling services. By far, the largest cost in there is your contract with Penn Waste. And that contract calls for a 6% increase next year. So refuge fees are going to be the only increase you see or you have to put up with next year. All the tax rates remain the same for next year. The next fund is the fire fund, that you see in blue. In 2024, that would be a much smaller slice of the pie, but starting in 25, you began a paid fire crew. 10 full-time positions were put in the 25 budget to come in mid-year. In 26, there are 6 more positions budgeted. Your smallest operating fund is your state highway aid fund. This is money shared by the Commonwealth that it collects from gasoline tax, like when you fill up at the pump. Part of that tax you pay comes back to the township. This is the only fund you have that has decreasing revenues next year. And that's been kind of a common problem with fuel efficiency, and more recently with electric vehicles, the tax has decreased. On the expenditure side, the costs have increased, for repaving streets at least, have increased faster than inflation. So this fund is being squeezed on the revenue side and the expenditure side. And that's a common occurrence for the state itself and for every municipality in it. This are the two budgets compared in dollar values. You can see revenues increased by 2.7 million. Expenditures, like I say, don't change a whole lot, and you can see that results in some budget deficits. Now, the budget deficit for 2026 is a little bit under $2 million, and there's really several reasons why that is not particularly alarming. The largest reason has to do with the capital funds, and within the capital funds, there is the spending of ARPA money. ARPA stands for American Recovery Plan Act. It is $5.2 million we got in 2023. And then we started spending it down on capital projects in years after that. So 2023 has this big windfall of $5.2 million, but the subsequent years show the expenditures. So it looks like a deficit, and indeed it is, but the revenue came in early to deal with it. Next year, we plan to draw down our remaining ARPA money, which is $1.1 million, which offsets most of the revenue. Another reason why the deficits aren't particularly alarming is that we are conservative in our budgeting, and that's a very good practice to follow. In 2024, for example, we had a budgeted surplus of $580,000, but when the actual results came in, it was actually $1.4 million. Like I said, that's a good practice to follow, and we've continued it into 2026. Another reason why it's not particularly alarming, particularly in the general fund, is that the reserves have grown higher than what they really need to be. So it's prudent to bring it down, those reserves, a little bit for a very short period. Drilling down to the general fund, these are your expenses broken out by what a CPA would call expenditure character. And this is a very typical pattern. You're going to see these in a lot of municipalities across the country. That is where labor costs and labor-related costs make up more than half of the pie, which is the case here, about 75%. In our case, that's followed by goods and services. Debt, which is the repayment of your bonds, at 7%. I mean, that's good. The alarm bells go off at around 10%. So you've got a little ways to go. Debt is a little bit high, and that was one of the reasons we couldn't get Moody's to increase our rating to the next higher level. So it's something, it's not a problem, it's not broken, but it's something going forward you want to weigh very carefully if you're considering new debt. Drilling down to the labor part of that pie you just saw, again, this is a fairly typical allocation breakout. In many, many municipalities, you're going to see public safety has more than half of the pie as far as labor, and that's almost always followed by public works. Labor is an important cost because it tends to grow faster than inflation does. And in many cases, it grows faster than what your revenue sources do, meaning that it eventually squeezes, your reserves, and you have to do a tax increase occasionally. So that's one of the reasons you'll see tax increases, or I guess it could be a cut in service levels, but you'll see that happen periodically. As far as the labor contracts, next year we have 3% in the ASME contracts. Those employees will get a 3% cost of living increase. Police will get 3.5%. As far as actual changes in positions, there's almost none at all. I talked about the 6 new firefighters. Those are the only new full-time positions coming in. In fact, it's the only change at all. We do have in the general fund 1 part-time employee. The asset and facilities coordinator will receive new duties and will go full-time. Other than that, it's very, very similar. Staying with the operations side and those funds, these are the largest changes in the budget for 2026. The top 3 you see there are mainly there because they are your largest expenditures. So just a small percentage increase is going to put them on a table like this one. Healthcare is budgeted at a 15% increase. We don't know the actual increase yet. 15% is unusually high. We've seen higher, but it's usually much lower, 6, 7, maybe 8%. And I think that will go back to normal. And this is just a spike that occurs every now and then. But you can see that it definitely has an impact on the budget. Healthcare is your 3rd largest expenditure. Your largest expenditure, weighing in at $8.1 million, is your contract with Penn Waste. And I talked about that increase. You can see what that does to the budget. The next one, your 2nd largest expenditure, patrolman salaries. I've talked about the wage increase in that contract. You can see what that does to the budget. Also talked about the 6 paid firefighters. They're budgeted to come in April. IT consulting, the next one in line there. We've kind of let IT slide over the last couple of years. This is a catch-up. It is particularly to bring us up to speed technologically, and particularly in security areas like cybersecurity, things like that. Also very large changes, but on the other side, reducing the budget, we've eliminated the Economic Development Department. It was in the 25 budget, never really came to fruition. As far as debt, you've issued a series of bonds in 2020. One of those series has matured in 25, and you won't have to pay it in 26. Pension is an interesting one. Pension gets its money from employer contributions, employee contributions, state aid, and from investment earnings. Investment earnings have been so significant in the last few years that it lowers the employer's contribution by that fairly large amount. So it isn't that the cost of pension plans has decreased, but the amount that the employer has to put in has. Moving over now, shifting to the capital side. These are some of your larger projects and the ones that the township considers a little bit more important. Keep in mind that these are all really contingent upon funding being available. George Park improvements there is your largest one. That's for basketball, pickleball, and volleyball courts, as well as a complete playground renovation. Of the $4 million price tag, we still need $3 million in grants to be awarded to us. So this is one of those maybe projects. After that, Safe Streets is to enhance traffic safety through engineering studies and improvements. We are very likely going to have funding for that. Route 39 adaptive system modernizes that corridor, particularly with traffic signals. That will move forward. Union Deposit pedestrian tunnel, that would be for safer and easier passage for pedestrians going across Union Deposit Road at what we used to call the Union Deposit Mall. That, unfortunately, almost has to be entirely funded from the outside that we don't have secured at the moment. Cole Park improvements would be for a dog park. We need $560,000 in grants to be secured. Now, these have been applied for, but have not been awarded yet. Fuel center replacement, that will move forward. That's for fuel dispensing system at the Public Works facility that services the entire township operations. One that the township considers important is Hodges Park improvements. That's for complete renovation to change it into passive recreation. Of the $567,000 needed, we still have to secure $190,000 in grants. If we can, that will move forward. Kuntz Park will move forward. That's for 3 basketball courts. Let's move over to revenues. General fund, again, is a fairly typical allocation you're going to see where the general fund relies mostly on tax revenue. In our cases, that's followed by charges for services, then intergovernment, which is another word for grants, other, which is donations and transfers in from other funds, and then licenses and permits. Let's take a look at your most important revenue sources, because they're important for the health and well-being of the township finances. Earned income tax is 1/2% of taxable income earned by the residents. Basically, it's 1/2% charged to the salaries and wages that you earn. Coming in at $11.2 million, it's your very largest revenue source, so it's important. 36 cents out of every dollar collected in the general fund comes in from this revenue. It's budgeted to increase 5.2% in '26, and that is excellent. That's a very good thing to see, because that means that the amount of money that the township residents are earning is exceeding inflation. Not only that, it's exceeding all the cost of the township, meaning that if the residents and if the township so wanted to do, we could afford just about any service level you wanted to see. And that's something you don't see in every municipality. A lot of municipalities are really hard pressed to add anything. Now, I did a study of our last 5 actual years, 2000 through 2004. And in that 5-year period, this revenue source increased by 5.6% per year. So that's absolutely outstanding. Real estate tax, that is in total, you have a general fund assessment, you have a fire fund assessment. I didn't include the library assessment because that just goes to the library, but that is 2.835 mils on the assessed value of taxable real estate. I'll come back to the assessment here in a minute. Coming in at $10 million, it's your second largest revenue item. It's budgeted to increase 3.9% next year. That isn't all due to new construction. Some of that has to do with this line item was just significantly over conservatively budgeted recently. So I'm just bringing it back. It's still conservatively budgeted, it's just brought back more closer to reality. The 5-year average, 1.3% per year. And that's all comes in from new construction, because the assessed value doesn't keep pace with inflation. It's not a tax on market value, it's a tax on assessed value, which the county is in control of that. And they don't do reassessments very often. And I really don't blame them, excuse me, because it's expensive for one thing, and for another thing, it's unpopular. The assessed value is a little over, well, it's almost $3.5 billion, and that has grown, as you might guess, at 1.3% per year over the last 5 years. Now, had the tax actually been on market value, the market value's grown over $5 billion. Is over $5 billion, and it's grown at 5.1%, which is admirable. I mean, that means your real estate values here in the township are doing very well. And had it been on actual market value, that would well exceed inflation, well exceed the cost of the township. And instead of warning you that sooner or later you're going to have a tax increase, we'd be planning out the next tax decrease. And I worked in Illinois, that actually occurred because it was on market value every year there. And every year I calculated the tax decrease. But anyway, that's kind of academic. Let's move on to the next one, real estate transfer tax. This is 0.5% of the actual value of taxable real estate that changes hands in the township. At $2.2 million, it's your fourth largest revenue. Your third largest is your refuge fees, which, those are kind of what they are. They are what they are. So I didn't really talk about those. But this is your fourth. It's budgeted to come in at 3.9% next year. Now, you might be surprised to learn that in the last 5 years, it's actually decreased, an average of 4% per year. And that's not particularly alarming. If you think back, going back before COVID, and even during COVID, real estate was really hot. The real estate market was hot. It was selling a lot. And subsequent to that, particularly mortgage rates increased, and the sales just fell off. So did the revenue. Next year, according to the economists' predictions, the stars are coming into line. It looks like mortgage rates are going to fall. It looks like things like business investments are going to increase. So all the stars line up for an increase next year. So I gave a conservative, but an actual increase next year. This, however, is a highly erratic revenue. Of the 5 years in the study period, the most revenue we ever got, well, I don't know, in that 5-year period, I don't know about before that, but in a 5-year period, the most revenue we ever got was in 2022 at $2.8 million. The low we got in that period was the very next year, in 2023, at $1.4 million. So this revenue is kind of a budgeter's nightmare. So, where might we be in the future? Well, I talked about road maintenance, the fact that the state-shared money is decreasing, costs are increasing. You've got good company with this problem. It's not a problem at the moment. None of these things are a problem at the moment. These are things that you need to keep an eye on because they may become those little innocuous flaws I talked about at the beginning. The capital pinch, that's capital outlays, your capital funds. You have ARPA money that is running out. Prior to ARPA money, you use bonds to come up with money for capital outlays. And you had a fairly heavy series of bonds in the 10 years before COVID. And you're getting not that you shouldn't do any more debt, but you want to do it very carefully because you're not going to be able to keep that pace up. Like I said, it's not a problem, but it's something that's going to need a little bit of planning as you go forward. The real estate tax, you now have substantial payroll cost in your fire fund. It's going to exceed greatly the growth in your real estate tax. The state has a maximum real estate tax levy for fire of 3 mills. Now, you're nowhere near that now. You're at 1.24. But eventually you'll hit that, and then the general fund's going to have to start sending money over to the fire fund. Now, this is a long way down the road. And if that bothers you, there's things you can do now based upon when you increase that fire tax that would delay that. So let's move on to some Moody's or some warnings from Moody's. Again, these are not problems. These are suggestions that they have to avoid problems. They recommend that we do not let reserves fall below 35% of revenue. The township has a resolution, a policy not to let it fall below 20. I've recommended, the board to discuss here in the future a 30%, but Moody's came in with 35, and they hold the keys to our credit rating, so I would go with that 35%. We're not there now. We won't be with the 2026 budget, but it's something to keep an eye on going forward. Another thing they recommended is don't let debt grow faster than revenue, which is really just a backdoor way of saying if you're going to do a new bond issue, increase taxes enough to cover the debt service on those bonds. That's basically what they're implying. So Any questions on the budget?
Thank you, Mr. Grove. Before we take some questions, I just want to thank you for all of the hard work that you and Ms. DeLong undertook to prepare the budget. You are a tremendous asset to this township, and we thank you for jumping in during this chaotic transition to help get us on track with this budget. So
Thank you.
please, public comment at this time, questions?
John Campbell, 710 Wrigley Lane. So when you talk about the budget, you mentioned, again, one of the major revenue streams is earned income, right? How are we doing as a township in terms of our unemployment rate, right?
Sorry, I can't.
Our unemployment rate, do you track that in terms of where we're trending in the township as far as unemployment rates, business development, right? Do you track that as a part of your calculation to kind of project out where revenue is going for the township?
I track, a lot of variables. Most of the variables, the statistics I get are from forecasts from the economists at Wells Fargo. They have world-class economists. So that's where most of it comes from. And I do a correlation study that correlates economic variables with our revenues, particularly the ones you saw, like the earned income tax and the real estate transfer tax. The ones that correlate most are the projections I look for and correlate. That's how I came up with the numbers for the budget.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
Mr. Grove did a multivariate factor regression analysis with multiple factors, and I think you have to have a PhD to understand that statistical analysis. But there were a lot of, research and analysis that went into this proposed budget. Ms. Lindsay, please.
Yes, I just want a clarification. At the budget meeting for the fire, Deputy Chief Graham had announced 10 new firefighters and onboarding in August. You quoted 6 new firefighters and onboarding in April.
Yes.
So are we going with 10 or are we going with 6?
10 in the 25 budget that were budgeted for mid-year. There's 6 in the 26 budget. These would be 6 new firefighters for April.
Okay, that's not the way.
I do think that Deputy Fire Chief Graham, I'm not sure if you want to speak to this, but the proposed wages for the full-time firefighters that you presented during our budget workshop is consistent with what's presented in this budget.
Yeah, so looking at the budget that's presented, those numbers do look correct, but the request was for 10 additional positions to make a total of 20, correct?
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, any questions from the board for Mr. Grove? Thank you for all your hard work. Okay, so we will not formally adopt this budget until tentatively the December 16th meeting, but I would like to ask for a motion to authorize the advertisement of this proposed budget.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there a second? Any questions on the advertisement? Mr. Lindsay.
Is that going to include the revision that was just made here by the chief?
The budgeted numbers are that.
Well, I mean, as far as the number of employees.
That number wasn't included in the actual budget. The full amount budgeted for the wages for those full-time firefighters was included.
He's still
So
going
that's
to get
correct.
what he asked for originally, correct?
Yes, it is based on the correspondence that
taxpayer,
I've had with Deputy Fire Chief Graham. The numbers are the same.
Because I want to make sure that we get it and it doesn't get delayed like it was before.
Thank you. And the future board will be able to make those decisions on hiring additional firefighters. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions on the advertisement of the proposed budget? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 10C, which is Resolution 2025-16, authorizing the submission of an application for the statewide LSA grant for the CFA, run through the CFA for Emergency Services Radios project. There's a little bit of a run-on with this agenda item. So, Mr. Gossert, will you lead us through this resolution?
Yes, the local share grant request for the LSA is $1 million for the purchase of emergency services radios.
Yep. And we did discuss this and approve the action at a prior meeting, and this is just the resolution to move that application forward. So are there any questions? Okay, may I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-16? Oh, yes.
You'll over 18 Care Street. There's a bit of a typo on there.
Yes.
There is. It's $1 million.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
that is being corrected. Thank you very much. Okay. May I ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2025-16 with the correction to $1 million grant application?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other public comment, questions on this resolution? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 10D, which is an action on the final adjusting change order for the BC7, BC8D Sewer System Improvement Project. Ms. Smith, thank you for your patience.
Sure thing. Tonight I'm here to present to you the final adjusting change order, which is change order number 3 for the BC7 project. This change order is to adjust the estimated contract quantities to actual final quantities that were installed for the project, to increase some quantity overages and include an asphalt index increase that was part of the contract, and then a negotiated reduction to reduce the contract by $104,000. This change order does increase the overall contract by 8%. The main quantity overages were mostly due to some base paving in different areas. We lost part of the road. We couldn't keep as much pavement as we initially anticipated, so that quantity jumped up significantly, along with some curbs. Generally, we only replace the curbs around the lateral that goes to the house, but the curbs were in poor condition, and after some of the pavement was removed, a lot of it couldn't be kept. There was also some storm sewer extensions that were done as part of like additional work for the project, along with some road widening, and then some installation of some speed bumps on Devonshire Road, and the inclusion of some tree removal that we thought was going to be done by a separate contractor, but ended up being put into this contract. Like I said, there was also a quantity overage for the pavement due to the condition of the roads that we ran into, and the contract does allow for a price adjustment for the unit prices if the quantity of the work differs materially from what was estimated. And then the negotiated reduction, while Dolly wouldn't accept the liquidated damages, the language of it, they did accept the fact that they were 80 days over, and the $1,300 per day was the $104 reduction. So while they're not accepting that they were behind, they are accepting the reduction. So we got that into the contract to reduce the overall amount. And just for I know everybody's probably wondering with some of the adjustments and things. Dolly still, with all the changes and things, was still $4 million lower than the second low bidder for the project. So, you got some pretty good savings there with Dolly doing the work. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Smith? Thank you, and thank you to our solicitor as well for working through this. This is a nice reduction of $104,000, and we appreciate all your efforts. Okay. If there are no questions from the board, I will ask for a motion to approve the final adjusting change order for the BC7, BC8 sewer system project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public comment, questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and finally 10E, which is an action to approve application for payment number 2 and 3 for Centennial Acres and Cole Memorial Park improvements. Mr. Gossert?
Yes, you have the application number 2, or application for payment number 2 and number 3 for Centennial Acre Parks and Cole Memorial Park. Cole Park renovations will include the tennis court, handball court, and basketball court. The park is still open to the public, excluding those areas. Centennial Acres is closed as their construction entrance will be off Continental and through the playground and pavilion area to access the basketball courts. The tennis court is not being renovated at this time. So this is 27.5% is being put towards Centennial Park Acres of this amount, and 72.5% is being put towards Cole Park.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Gossert on the two payments? Okay, and the first payment is in the amount of $121,087.80, and the second is $75,550.14. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the application for payments number 2 and 3 for Centennial Acres and Cole Memorial Park?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. And finally, I'm sorry, I spoke too soon earlier, the payment of the bills for Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority. Supervisor Thompson.
Yes, I've reviewed the 3 check registers according to section 704 of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Second Class Township Code. I make a motion to pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township.
So moved. Second.
And the authority, Supervisor Thompson?
I did not have, let me double check. My 3 registers.
You're right, this does look like it's just for the township.
Sewer Board of Supervisors, Sewer Board of Supervisors, Township Board of Supervisors.
Oh, that's at the beginning.
Those are the check registers that I had.
Okay.
Sewer Board of Supervisors, Township Board of Supervisors.
Township and sewer. Okay. So Supervisor Thompson has made a motion for the Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority payment of bills. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any public comment or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to announcements. Supervisor Thompson?
So one of the things that I wanted to share was... okay, thank you. One of the things that I wanted to share, I found out recently that Elizabeth Village, which is being built on Colonial Road, is what's called an age-targeted development, meaning that there will be families with children and a 55-plus community there. a number of the people in the community had originally signed up for interest in that development because they thought it was a 55 plus, but at a meeting recently, I was told that it's going to be a targeted development community. So I think in anticipation of school buses being on that route, school buses increasing on that route, we need to try to get ahead to see what we're going to be doing in terms of a traffic study, I guess. I also wanted to mention that we're looking at the ABCs, which stands for the authorities, the boards, and the commissions for new members. I'm waiting to definitely hear back from the particular directors, but I'm just suggesting now that if you have any interest whatsoever in sitting on those ABCs, authorities, boards, commissions, go online and fill out an application. We won't know for another, I guess, about a week exactly what we'll be looking to fill, because we don't quite know who's going to be wanting to come back and whatnot. But I would like to be ahead of the game in terms of the beginning of the year. I do know that for the Planning Commission, it would be nice for architects, planners, people with municipal experience to apply. I would also like you to be thinking about whether you would like to sit on what right now I'm just calling the Route 22 Corridor Improvement Committee, which will be made up of citizens and people from the township, which obviously is going to include consideration of what we're going to do with the mall. Additionally, we need people to sit on a committee for Lingostown Village. Finally, this summer at Fall Festival, we had I had a table where children drew pictures, and this would be our first opportunity to display those pictures. We're going to be working on getting those pictures framed and up by the second week in December, so we would like you to come into the township to see the township children's artwork. Thank you.
Supervisor Vecchio.
So like I did back in October, when my older son had a birthday, I'm now going to take a moment and wish my younger son a happy 12th birthday on Saturday. He specifically asked if I was going to do this for him since I did it for his brother. So happy birthday, Jack. I hope you have a great day on Saturday.
Happy birthday. Are there any other comments or announcements? Okay. Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to adjourn at 8:59. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming out, everybody.